Hungarian Folk Tales. The Cursed Castle. Once upon a time, long ago and far away, there lived a poor woman who had a daughter. They were both so very poor that they had to live in a crumbling house, and that was all they had. One day the old woman fell ill, and she called to her daughter, "My sweet darling daughter, I am sure I shall soon die. I have nothing to leave you, so you should go, find work as a servant, and try to live as best you can." And with that, she closed her eyes and died. She was buried by the people of the village because her daughter had no money to pay for the funeral. All she had was a blanket. So she took her blanket and off she went to see the world. From time to time she tried begging for food or shelter, but nobody ever gave her anything. The people said, "You're strong enough to find work," which was true, but the girl was lazy. She found shelter in a garden and stayed there until summer passed. Then, when autumn came, she hid in sheds and barns and stables. One fine day she arrived in a town, and it was there that she heard that the king had a castle for sale. The castle would be sold to the person who would not haggle or bargain but pay the price on the spot. So the girl thought to herself, "I will buy that castle. I'll lie and say that I have the asking price." And she did exactly that. She went up to the king, telling him that she would buy the castle. "Well, well," said the king has as many windows as there are days in the year, and as many doors as there are days, and rooms as there are months, and that is why the price to pay is 365 florins, no more, no less. If you can pay up without bargaining, the castle will be yours." "There will be no bargain, your majesty. I do not have the money with me now, for many debtors owe me this amount. But I promise to pay you back as soon as I get my money, and all you have to do is set a deadline." "Very well, young lady. Let us agree on 365 days. "Very well," she thought. "That is exactly 1 year from now, and even if they hang me after that, on my dying day, I will be able to tell everyone that I slept in a real royal castle." The king gave her the keys, and the girl walked up to her new room. Once she was there, she inspected all 12 rooms, one by one. Then she locked the door and placed one half of a blanket on the floor and used the second half to cover herself. All of a sudden she heard something that sounded like a meowing cat. "Meow, meow." "Poor cat, you must be as lonely as me." So she got up and let in the cat. It was a horribly fat black cat. "Come over here. Come on, lie next to me and start purring into my ear. Then at least I won't feel lonely." The cat cuddled up next to her and purred so sweetly that the girl fell fast asleep. When she woke around daybreak, she couldn't find the cat anywhere. She reached for the key which was under her head where she put it. The door was locked. The windows were closed. How could the cat have left the room? Well, anyway, if you've left, you've left. You surely know how. When evening came, she lay down once again. The cat returned once more, and so she asked it, "Where have you been? How did you get out?" But the cat just started meowing, and as it opened its mouth, a magnificent diamond rolled onto the floor. The girl picked it up, turned it around in her hand, not knowing quite what it might be. Finally, she put the stone into a pot and pulled the cat next to her. The cat started purring, and the girl fell asleep. This continued for a month and a day. "Just wait, I'm going to find out about that cat," the girl thought. And she did exactly that. When the cat appeared in the evening, she stroked it gently with loving care. The cat put down the gemstone from its mouth, and the girl placed it in the pot. The cat started purring to send the girl to sleep, but this time the girl only pretended to slumber. And all of a sudden, when the cat thought that the girl was already fast asleep, the animal sprang up, stamped once with its foot, the door swung open, and in a moment it was gone. The girl did the same. She also sprang to her feet and raced after the cat. The cat ran along a long corridor leading into the castle. There were doors on both sides, but the cat did not enter any of them. When it reached the very last room, it stamped with its foot and entered. The girl followed it in. When she stepped into the room, she saw a door opening in the wall. There were stairs leading downwards. The cat started descending. The girl followed it, and lo and behold, there were magnificent trees on both sides of the stairs. The girl broke 2 little twigs from each of them, but when the twigs broke, they started jingling, and this caused the cat to turn around. Had she not hidden behind the tree, it would certainly have discovered her. But the cat decided to walk on, and as it went, the girl heard beautiful music coming from down below. When the cat reached a spot, it did a somersault, and when it landed, it had turned into a heartbreakingly handsome young prince. Music was playing, and there were smiling people and great merriment everywhere. The girl observed everything she saw before she finally went back to her room. That evening, the cat returned once again, bringing yet another gemstone in its mouth. It dropped it in front of the girl. The girl pretended not to know a thing about it. "You're such a good-for-nothing cat. Where have you been again? You keep escaping from me." But the cat just kept on purring, cajoling the girl, and after a while the girl said, "I know where you've been. I know who you are. I've seen everything. Look at this. This is the proof." The cat let out a scream so loud that all the windows broke. Then it shed its skin, and the girl was looking at a very handsome young prince standing right in front of her. The cat-turned prince said, "I was cursed to live as a cat until a girl came and discovered where I was going. Now that you have discovered my secret, I will let you have all of these gemstones. Sell them to a jeweler and use the money to pay for the castle." And so it happened. The girl paid the price for the castle, she married the prince, the wedding feast was grand, and they both lived happily ever after. Hungarian Folk Tales. Martin and the Cursed Princess. Once upon a time, there was a poor man who had 3 sons. The youngest son's name was Martin. When the boys grew up, their father turned to them and said, "Well, boys, you've had enough to eat at home, and now you're old enough and strong enough to work. 1 year from now, I want you each to return home with a suit of clothes. Off you go, and may God bless you all." The boys did as they were told, and they started their journey. After a while, they reached a huge old tree. At this point, the road forked into 3 directions. The boys said goodbye to each other, and each of them started walking down a different path. As Martin walked along, he reached a forest. A huge, warty frog was approaching him and spoke to Martin. "I know you're looking for a job. Come on, work for me, and you won't be sorry. All you have to do is chop and saw some wood. Plus put me to bed in the evenings and raise me out of bed in the mornings. Well, what do you say? I'm your man. Wherever I have to work, it's all the same." So he shook the frog's hand and stayed. A whole year passed by. The frog was not a bad employer at all. On the last day it said, "Well, Martin, you've done a good job. Your brothers are taking their new clothes home. But never mind, just go into the pantry and pick whatever you like." Martin selected a nice suit of clothes and started on his return journey homewards. At the old tree, he met his brothers again. "Well, who employed you, Martin?" But as soon as Martin told that he was employed by a frog, the boys nearly fell over laughing. But when they saw his new suit of clothes, they all stopped laughing. They grew yellow with envy. After they got home, they stayed home for a while, but when spring came, their father once again spoke to them. "Well, boys, it's time for you to be working again. But this time tell your masters to pay you with wine." The boys did as they were told. When they got to the tree, they said goodbye again, and each went on his way. The frog was already there in the forest. "Come and work for me, Martin. Your job will be as easy as it was the last time." Martin was already used to the frog, and he didn't mind working at all. When the new year was up, the frog told him, "Hey, Martin, your brothers are already busy carrying their wine home. Never mind anything. Go, find a bottle and walk down into the cellar. Fill it up with the wine you like the best." So the year went by and the boys met once again at the crossroads. Both brothers were rolling a sizable barrel as they went. When they spotted Martin, they couldn't help laughing at him. "Well, that frog master of yours is not a generous employer. All he ever gave you was this miserable little bottle." Martin didn't say anything. He rolled out the largest barrel and poured the wine into it. "Maybe a smaller barrel will be more appropriate," they mocked at him. But it didn't last for long, because when they saw that the bottle was simply not running out of wine, they were so astonished that their eyes bulged out. Their amazement grew when they tasted it. They rested at home for a while, but then their father sent them off to work again. "Now you have clothes and you have wine of your own, and you are ready to get married. But you have to find a wife." The boys did like before, and when they got to the fork in the road, they said goodbye to each other once again. Martin went to see his frog, and the two elder brothers went their own way, whatever it was. The frog told Martin, "Well, Martin, this time it's not going to be as easy as before. This time you will have to chop and stack up 3 times as much wood as last year." When the year was over, the frog told Martin, "You've done a good job again, but now you have to be very careful. Gather up my bed linen and take it to the top of that wood stack. Then carry me up and place me on the top of the stack." Martin did as he was told and finally placed the frog on top of the pile of wood. Then he heard the frog call down from the top of the wood, "All right, now go, find a broom, then set the wood stack on fire, and as soon as the wood catches fire, you will see frogs leaping towards the fire from all sides. You must sweep all of them up into the fire, but beware, don't let any of them get away, because that would mean great trouble." Martin begged the frog to come down from the top of the pile, but the frog didn't listen. In the end, he had no choice. He had to set fire to the stack of wood. There was a lot of panic and commotion. There were so many frogs, Martin could hardly sweep them all onto the fire. By nightfall, the fire burned down. The frogs were all lost, including Martin's frog master. Martin was very, very sad. He was still full of sorrow when he fell asleep. The next morning, when he opened his eyes, he saw a beautiful maiden standing next to his bed. "Martin, thank you for saving me. I had to live as a frog with all my household until an honest lad came along and did everything as I told him. But now you have removed the curse." Martin's heart beat loudly when he saw her. The princess jumped into his arms and said, "Your brothers are going home with their wives, but don't you worry. Go down to the courtyard and bring the horses to the best carriage. By the time they get home, we'll be there before them." And so it happened. There was great astonishment and a lot of envy. But Martin was a good brother. He gave each of his brothers 3 sacks full of gold. Then he married the princess and went off to rule as a king. Maybe he could have found himself a better job, but he had no reason to complain, did he now? Hungarian Folk Tales. The Poor Man and the Dog. Once upon a time, there was a poor woman who lived together with her poor husband. They didn't have a thing in the world that they could call their own, except for a brood of children and a filthy little pig. Once they found themselves so utterly penniless that it well nigh drove them out of their wits. The woman said to the man, "Listen, my husband, let's slaughter the pig. You take the pig fat to the town and sell it, and I'll cook a fine meal for the children." So they slaughtered the pig, but its fat was as thick as my little finger. So the man wrapped the pig fat into a little bundle, tied it to the end of a stick with a piece of twine, and set out to the town to sell it. He walked over hill and dale until suddenly a dog sprang out of a ditch and started snapping at his heels. "Woof, woof, 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 woof. Hey, you mongrel, leave me be. Don't hold me up. I'm going to the city to sell this pig fat. I want to make a little money." Woof, 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 woof. "What's that? What's that? You say you want to buy the pig fat? Well, I'll sell it to you, but will you pay for it?" Woof, 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 woof. "You'll pay for it in 3 weeks from now? That's a long time, but I myself am poor. I know what it is to be without money. Fine, it's yours, but 3 weeks from now, I'm coming back for the money. And if you don't pay, I'll beat you until you beg me for mercy." So the man took the bundle of pig fat from the stick. The dog grabbed it in his teeth, trotted back to the ditch, and started to chomp and chew at it with great delight. When the poor man arrived home, his wife was waiting for him at the gate. "Dear husband, did you bring home any money?" "Money? No, I have not brought home any money." "Blessed Lord, what have you done with the pig fat?" "The pig fat? I sold it." "Then tell me, to whom did you sell it? Who was the shameless wretch who didn't pay?" "I gave it to a dog." "Blessed Lord, how can you have been such a fool as to give the pig fat to a dog?" "He told me he would pay for it in 3 weeks from now." "Dear husband, tell me, how did you speak with the dog?" "Quite easily. I asked questions, he woofed." "Dear husband, you are a fool." And from then on, the woman teased and taunted her husband, calling him a fool and a half-wit. But the man really was a little thick in the head, and he paid her no mind. The 3 weeks soon passed, and the man took his stick in his hand and set off to get the money he was owed. He went over hill and dale, and when he reached the spot where he had first seen the dog, the little mongrel leapt out of the ditch. It wagged its tail and barked at the man. "Woof, woof, 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 woof. So, little dog, here we are. I have come for the money. Woof, 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 woof. Enough of your woof woofing, give me the money." But the dog only woofed some more. Woof, 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 woof. The man became angry and he hit the dog with his stick so hard that the little dog yelped in pain, ran back into the ditch and started to dig. And it dug and it dug and it dug, and lo and behold, a little barrel of money rolled out of the dirt. The man was overcome with joy. Goodness me! Forgive me if you can, little dog, for having struck you with my stick. I never imagined you were so wealthy. I'll take half the money to pay for the fat and half as interest. So then he took the little barrel under his arm and set off, proudly swaggering home. Once inside, he dumped the countless coins on the table. The children rushed in and started spinning and rolling the little coins. The man and the woman began to discuss all the things they would buy. They were overjoyed. But alas, the man in his joy could not keep his silence. He walked the length and breadth of the village and cried out at every gate, "We're rich! We're rich! At last we're rich!" His wife snapped at him, "Foolish man, be quiet. Our relatives will hear that we have come into money. They will rush to our doorstep and beg us to give them some." But she cautioned him in vain, and the man continued to boast and brag. One day the woman said to her husband, "Dear husband, it's cold and rainy. Go stand by the stove under the chimney where you can warm yourself." The chimney in the poor man's house opened up to the sky, and when it rained, the water dripped down onto the coals. The woman went up to the attic with a bucket of water. There was still a bit of sausage left over from the pig. She threw it into the water and poured the whole bucket, sausage and all, down the chimney, onto her husband's head. When he felt the little pieces of meat falling on his head, the man ran out of the house. "Dear wife, did you see? It's raining sausage." "I see, dear husband, I see. And do you know why it's raining sausage?" "It's raining sausage so that we may remember the time we suddenly found ourselves rich. If someone asks you when we came into a hoard of gold coins, you tell them it was the day that sausage rained down from the skies. Do you understand?" "I do, I do." Barely 3 days later, the judge arrived with 2 policemen. "Show us the gold coins. We all know you recently came into a hoard of gold coins." "Your Honour, gold coins? When did we ever have gold coins?" Her foolish husband answered, "Dear woman, have you forgotten? It was the day sausage rained down from the skies." "Ah, yes, Your Honour, my husband is not quite right in the head. For never has sausage rained down from the skies, and never did he or I come into a hoard of gold coins." The judge and the policeman laughed heartedly, for the world is indeed full of fools. The poor man and his wife enjoyed their new riches, and they all lived happily ever after.